Good morning, everyone. It's great to see a packed room here today. It is Tuesday, September 24th. We'll call the Wright County Board of Commissioners to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, this is one of those great days of the year that we get to recognize the wonderful workers here at Wright County for their years of service. At this time, we will be calling the 5 years first and all the way to, I think we have a handful of 40-year employees here. Come forward and receive your certificate and mug. And at this time, if board members want to come up, greet our recipients.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Starting with our 5 years of service recognition. First, we have Matt Arendt with Facilities. Krista Zachman, Health and Human Services. Alexander Johnson, Health and Human Services. Cullen Domes, Highway. David Yang, Sheriff. Mark Kellogg, Information Technology. Anna Radloff, Health and Human Services. Mark Lyon, Sheriff. Melissa Majewski, Attorney's Office. Stephanie Bridget Wiley, Health and Human Services. Kelly Neeson, Finance and Taxpayer Services. William Wolak, Sheriff. Heather Lemieux, Finance and Taxpayer Services. Alan Sankowski, Sheriff. Matthew Lissick, Sheriff. Benjamin Rudolph, Sheriff. Matthew Fomby, Information Technology. Victoria Pothoff, Finance and Taxpayer Services. Kala Eninga, Finance and Taxpayer Services. Mr. Chair, members of the board, moving on to our 10 years of recognition. Abby Wacker, Health and Human Services. Colleen Norgren, Law Library. Michelle Check, Health and Human Services. Heidi Davis, Health and Human Services. Tammy Anderson, Assessor. Kathleen Brennan Merritt, Court Services. For 15 years of service and recognition, we have Richard Haluka with the Sheriff's Office. With the 20 years of service recognition, Ryan Ferguson, Sheriff. Ryan Bush, Court Services. Joel Torkelson, Health and Human Services. Molly Marty, Health and Human Services. Our 25-year service awards go to Bob Erickson, Highway. Edward Adams, Sheriff's Office. Tony Rasmussen, Assessor. Lynette Rositas, Health and Human Services. "30 years of service. John Young, Health and Human Services. Jessica Erickson, Court Services. "35 years. Michelle Sandquist, Attorney's Office. Carla Nelson, Finance and Taxpayer Services. The members of the board, the astounding 40 years of service, we have two people, Tom Decker in Highway. And then for the second one, Tom Fetter, Parks and Recreation.
Once again, it is great to see so many people dedicated to this organization and the people of Wright County. I can't thank you enough for all the hard work and dedication that you put in and the many years of service. Thank you and enjoy your day. And you're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of our agenda. But any comments, Administrator Kreiser?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to comment on how astounding the recognition is at this quarter to have every 5-year mark recognized with 2 at the 40 and 2 at 35 and 2 at 30 years is absolutely amazing. And we appreciate your years of service to the county, and we appreciate everything you do. This county couldn't operate without your service and dedication to the public.
All right, we'll just take a short little 3-minute break for those of you that want to exit out the room. So. That's, yes. I'm waiting for the day when we hit a 50. You know, if they move Social Security to 70, then we're going to start having to give out 50-year awards. I told my wife, if they go to 70 on Social Security, I'm just going to spend my retirement now because I have to have a retirement. Like,
I have a grandpa that's 92 and sharp as a tack.
so do I.
That's what I mean. You do.
Oh,
so
I do.
You can't really say.
All right. Moving back into today's agenda, the next item would be to approve the minutes from the board meeting on September 10th. We have minutes from the Personnel Committee on September 11th, and we have Drainage Authority public hearing minutes from 9/16. We can approve them collectively or individually. I'll stand for any modifications or a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I had a correction on the ditch meeting minutes, page 3. It's the end of the third paragraph after the words "were not mapped." It should be, "We found utilities are running through the mobile home park, but didn't specifically find the route of the septic system out of the park." And I'll make sure the minute taker gets that because I just confirmed that before the meeting, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other modifications?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I did have one request that on the Personnel Committee minutes that remove the words "and add on a TPS or senior TPS" from the recommendation on the first bullet point under item number 2. I think that was a little ambiguous. I mean, that was the discussion, but at this point in time, that's not the action item. That would stand on its own at a later date. But that was, I think, part of the discussion, but it's not the action item at this point in time. So
That is
adding that on, I
correct.
think, makes it ambiguous as to whether or not we're adding an FTE at this point in time, which we are not.
Yep, we haven't made that decision yet. Yep. So, all right. With that, I'll entertain a motion. Pardon me.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3 minutes with those changes.
All right. Motion. Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Minutes are approved unanimous. Today's agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or removed from today's agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'm asking that consent agenda item under HHS item D1 be removed.
Okay. And with that, I'll stand for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Catchmark to approve today's agenda with the removal of consent agenda D1. Hearing no other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Next would be today's consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove anything from today's consent agenda for further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Holland to approve today's consent agenda. Any discussion?
I just want to comment on E1, just with that broadband that we were using ARP funds to move forward. And I'm just disappointed that that rural part of Wright County isn't going to be benefiting from these ARP funds, not by any fault of the county, but by the provider. So just a comment.
And Mr. Chair, I don't know if the rest of the board's aware, but I had talked with staff about letting these townships know, coincidence or not, they're all in District 5. But they did send notice out and got feedback that they weren't aware of any companies pursuing this in those specific townships. Because it's one of those things, if you do it and it was attached to the township and the township says, well, when did this happen? And nobody contacted us, they have been notified and confirmed that there wasn't any progress being made. So I thank the staff for that, but that's the other piece to this.
And and since we've already kind of opened up the discussion on some of that broadband piece, there's a number of factors that have kind of played into it. Some of those factors being they were looking for more matching state and federal funds that they didn't receive. Some of them is a capacity from some of the ISP providers. They just have so many projects out there because there is so much state and federal money out there and even local money that they still have to be picking and choosing on which ones they can actually move forward with based on their economy of scale. So it's unfortunate, but I still will say that we were able to accomplish a lot over the last 4 or 5 years with some of the state and federal funds that we got, as well as some of our local funds to expand broadband across the county. All right. With that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. Consent agenda is approved. Timed agenda item number 1 at 9:15. I think we're relatively close there. And Chad's making his way.
Good morning, Commissioners. Should I just go ahead?
You go
First item? All right. First item is a resolution to transfer the excess of the last 2 years of our state aid municipal distribution to the state aid regular construction account. So basically this is we get a state aid allotment from basic gas tax license fees for our regular state aid, which is the rural single and 2-digit roads, and then we get a certain portion municipal state aid, which is used in towns under 5,000. So if we don't have any projects for a few years in those smaller towns, timing doesn't work, or we're saving up, occasionally you have to transfer the state aid rules. They can only bank so much, and they have to roll the rest to your regular state aid. You can still use it in those municipalities, and we have 3 projects coming up, so we'll be utilizing those funds in Montrose, Howard Lake, and Annandale, which is the next item, was one of them. So we just asked, in order to not lose those funds, we need to roll over a small portion of that. So that's what we're doing today, asking today.
All right. With that, is there any questions, or I'll entertain a motion to make that transfer?
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion? Hearing none, resolution vote. Commissioner Catchmark?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Next would be the adopt a resolution and approve the MnDOT Cooperative Construction Agreement 105-6963. Chad?
Yep. This is just the, MnDOT has a project along Truck Highway 25 next summer, and one part of that project is replacing the signal at CASA 5 in Annandale, and this is just our half of those signal costs.
All right. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Holland. Any further discussion? Resolution vote. Commissioner Shane?
Aye.
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 Resolution passes unanimous. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. That's all I got.
And I know Matt's out there somewhere. He's making his way. We have to approve the order initiating repairs on County Ditch 38.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Yep, this is just follow-up from our public hearing on County Ditch 38 on September 16th. So this would be the findings in order to approve those repairs, including realignment and accepting the contract for the lowest responsible bid.
Any discussion?
Nope, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Catchmark. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to comment. I know we're moving through this rather quick, but this is a culmination of literally years, if not decades of work. And I know that this motion will be quick, but it doesn't take into account the 20 years of effort that I know has happened in finance before we hired Matt, and what Matt has done since he's been here. I know when I started in the county 14 years ago, whenever CD 38 showed up on the agenda, you left the room for 45 minutes. So, it's really nice to see that this project is getting done. It was needed 20 years ago, and Matt has been diligent on it. And I just want to thank him for all of his work on this, because it couldn't have been done without him and the Parks Department.
And
I will anecdotally, Matt, I remember you coming on board, I don't know, was it about 6 years ago? Yep. And right off the bat, we had to go into getting as-built on this system. Then right after that, realized we had to go into a redetermination of benefits, starting all the repair proceedings, which at times were contentious, because this is one of those situations where how did we ever get to a situation like this in the first place? it's nice to actually see that the work will actually be done and this situation will be resolved and we can move forward.
And I just want to follow up on what Greg said. Everything I touch goes to Greg's desk after that. We're very lucky as a county. A lot of other counties hire professional attorneys to handle a lot of this that just specialize in drainage. Greg handles basically everything at a huge cost savings to the benefit of landowners. It's very impressive, his knowledge base. Again, they get to specialize in just drainage law. As we know, Greg has to specialize in a lot of other things now in his current position. So again, Greg, thank you for all the help over the years on this one. So.
Mr. Chair, this is one of many that I inherited when I came on. And just to show how important meeting minutes can be, we found some correspondence from 1972. That was actually the first, I think, documented petition that the ditch isn't working properly, can you help? 1972. And it's 2024. It started and stopped many times, and there's landowners that have stacks of correspondence we looked at in the old building from the 80s. So it needed a lot of pushing and prodding. But overall, now the resistance seems to have subsided. I think that as word trickles out, those that weren't part of the process, the phones might be ringing a little bit. But I think we can easily justify the work here, and I'm glad we got a good bid and looking forward to the water flowing again. All right, thank you.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second. No other discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Motion passes unanimous. Now we're already on to the items for consideration. The next item under consideration is the culmination of weeks, if not months of, well, really I'm going to say months of work with staff and at the board. We've been working on this for at least 6 weeks plus on the recommendation to adopt a resolution to approve the levy of 5.71%. At this time, I want to thank staff for their hard work on this. I want to thank all the departments in doing all their due diligence in trying to find a resolution that meets the needs of the taxpayer as well as the operation of the organization. So at this time, I'll leave it open to
Mr.
discussion.
Chair, I would like to add some comments to this as well. I'd like to thank our department heads and staff for working diligently to bring forward their 2025 preliminary budgets. Thank you for prioritizing your budgets in order to serve the people of Wright County well. I very much appreciate you working with the board and all your thoughtful responses to a lot of our questions. I would also like to thank my constituents for their thoughts and feedbacks regarding the levy. Mr. Chair, I am struggling with one thing to understand why the majority of the board has requested an additional $195,000 to be removed from the Sheriff's Office budget for 2025. I strongly object to the board's efforts to defund our Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office has already reduced their 2025 budget by $500,000 during the budgeting process. During our last budget retreat, Commissioner Shane directed staff to cut the wellness program, cut the mentorship program, and cut the professional services
Mr. Chair.
budgets in the total amount of $195,000 from the sheriff's budget. The Commissioners Holland and Ketchmark agreed. The interim county administrator did remind the commissioners that they cannot determine the line items to cut in the sheriff's budget. There's also no consideration at all during the meeting to bring the sheriff's office staff to the table to discuss the implications of the proposed cuts. I'm sure you're aware the last 4 years has been very difficult for law enforcement in our county, state, and country. Since the defund the police movement, staffing shortages continue to stress our law enforcement's efforts to protect and serve our communities. We are the fastest growing county in the state, and keeping our residents safe is my highest priority. Crime statistics in Wright County are beginning to reflect the continued impact of these societal changes. For example, in Wright County, the investigations for child pornography cases has dramatically increased 200% just from last year. And unfortunately, there have been 5 homicides in Wright County since 2020, including the recent homicide in Annandale. We've also had 4 officer-involved shootings since 2020, which all the officers are alive and well today and have been cleared because the Sheriff's Office emphasizes high-quality training and a positive and supporting culture. These are the very things that my commissioners desire to cut. Law enforcement is inherently a high-risk job. Fortunately, even the legislature has attempted to address these concerns by signing a law, which went into effect in July 2023, that introduces mandatory wellness training for officers and further emphasizes mental health awareness and support in this field. These reforms aim to balance the well-being of officers with the need to maintain a functional and financially sustainable law enforcement workforce. The impacts of these proposed cuts to the sheriff's wellness and mentorship program budgets would include cost-mandated OSHA hearing and fit mask health testing, gym equipment, mental health education, peer support teams, and the chaplain program. Participation in these programs continues to grow every year since they've been implemented. Perhaps without understanding the impacts of the cuts to the professional services budgets, these items do include language services, document shredding, psychological testing, vehicle tows, and the retired FBI expert, which trains our trainers and the deputies at our training center. Just because my fellow commissioners do not believe his services are necessary doesn't make it so. On the note regarding training, I would like to share an unprompted compliment to the Sheriff's Office while I attended the AMC conference. An attendee asked me which county I represented. When I responded, Wright County, she then stated her county was interviewing a Wright County deputy who was moving to her area. She was extremely impressed with the candidate and the training he'd received. She also complimented the 3 sergeants she followed up with for their knowledge and professionalism. Wright County has the 3rd largest sheriff's office in the state. Why? Because Wright County Sheriff's Office has intentionally built relationships, invested in high-quality training and technology, supported and developed our deputies and staff to build the trust to serve and protect our communities and our schools. The people of Wright County believe in the professional leadership of our Sheriff's Office. Therefore, I would like to work together as a team and ask my fellow commissioners to join me to make a motion to approve the preliminary budget to include the $195,000 into the Sheriff's Office budget using using reserve funds. And that is my motion.
All right. Any other comments? I'll make a few comments here. Commissioner Dietrich, I appreciate your statements, and they're well taken. And I will speak on behalf of some of the board members and some of the discussions, because I'm sure there's with this statement, quite a lot of questions. The board itself is not in the inclination of defunding law enforcement, actually quite in favor of funding law enforcement, and has for many years. And actually, over the decades, the Wright County Sheriff's Office has gotten the lion's share of funding from across the board when in comparison to that of other departments. But that should be the case too. We are a growing county, and we do have a lot of contracted work, and it should be funded to the said degree. Now, I understand that there may be a perception that with this reduction that would be the case. But do understand that the $195,000 is about 0.5% of the entire budget of the Wright County Sheriff's Office. There is many departments in this county and other organizations that we send allocations to that have had far greater cuts, that have made cuts upwards of 5 or 10 or even 15% to help make sure that they lessen the burden on the taxpayer of Wright County. So it is respectable and honored. I understand that need to want to try and fund law enforcement to the best of their abilities, but it is constantly a finesse game that we do here as board members to make sure that we get the services that need to be met at a dollar amount that the taxpayers can afford. So sometimes it ebbs and flows from whether we have enough funds to put more money in versus other years where we have to retract. And this is one of those years where we are trying to lean some things out. And there may be next year when going through the budget process, there is a good possibility that may be able to go the other direction. So with that, I will stand for any other discussion by board members.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I too am very, very proud of the Wright County Sheriff's Department. And we've been told many, many times that according to state statute, that we cannot tell the sheriff how to allocate his budget. That is per state statute. And just like we went to all the departments and asked, because I did not want the 8.5% levy as you did, Commissioner Dietrich. I said I wanted 4. I'm compromising to 5.71. I went last week to Albertville, my little city, and told them that it would be 5.71. And the comment was from Commissioner Aaron Cocking, can you get the sheriff to bring down their prices because it's killing our budget? And I said, I wish I could, but I can't. We have a lot of struggling families. Last night, I went into Otsego City Council meeting and for 3 hours heard how people do not want their taxes to go up and refuse to have a fire department of a city of 25,000 people, and they are okay with having contracted from other cities a department. So I understand that it looks, like we're cutting. That is there's a very small cut, and there are ways that they can generate revenue by either the jail or the training facility to keep those costs, to keep those positions that they have. There are other things that they can do. So I'm happy. I'm not happy that it's 5.71%, but I will go with what the board has discussed because we had a lot of very good, thoughtful meetings.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a little comment too. I can stand by it all day long with my constituents on the 5.71. I also was not in favor of the Commissioner's 8.5 being okay with that. We had to make some very strong cuts in a lot of areas. There was a comment that I dictated taking out the wellness program. That was never said. I am not here to direct what he does with his budget, and I will stand by that all day long. So, and again, with my constituents, I know that I can stand behind what I proposed.
Mr. Chair, just a response to that. When we had set those numbers in the beginning, they were preliminary, and we have moved through that. And I credit that all the departments heads working with admin and with our board to get to that point. I'm not asking to change the levy right now. I'm asking to utilize our reserve funds.
And are you making a formal motion on that right now?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich to amend the proposed budget for 2025 with an increase of $195,000 using fund balance for a set amount. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? For the lack of a second, the motion dies.
Silence is noted.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Make a motion to approve the 2025 budget for the 2025 year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Holland to approve the resolution setting the budget for 2025 levy increase at 5.71, seconded by Commissioner Shane. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll shift gears a little bit from some of the other money we're talking about, but my, I guess you could say the do not pass go numbers this year are all around. I got it down to appropriations mainly. And everybody knows pretty much what they are, but the one that's still outstanding that kind of bothers me is because the medical clinic was started on speculation, but now we've got actual numbers. And I'm kind of disappointed or frustrated. I think the setup of the Department 100 fund that has $4 million in it to start, you have to keep peeling away at it to find out what's in there. And if you don't ask, nobody tells you. And that's where I found the $300,000 that's being asked above the $750,000 that was paid to keep the doors open downstairs for the prior years. But I wish somebody would have said, hey, we got some numbers here. It's buried in 100, but we could have considered this until now. It's way late in the season and the staff says, well, we're having meetings on it. But with that, the levy is if as we approve it today, would still set aside 300,000 for that. So just something for the future board to consider. I don't know where we're at. I think the timing is just poor. But my overall number that I can't get past for the taxpayers is at about 520,000, and it's all around appropriations, and I'll call the medical clinic kind of in that same line. So that's why I'm not going to be able to go with it. But my only point for discussion was if anybody had anything on the medical clinic. But if not, you can continue, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing no other comments, we have a motion, we have a second. Resolution vote, I'll start off. Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
All right. Resolution passes 4-1. All right. Next, it would be to take action to set the Truth and Taxation public hearing meeting. But one quick second before that, I know this was a contentious discussion. I wanted to backtrack a quick second and state that the big discussion here, I think, on this entire levy and out of the $200 million budget of the county, we're talking the $195,000, which of that reduction, $50,000 of it is still left. It was just moved into a different, into Department 100 if it needed to be allocated back. I do want to note that the sheriff has been an excellent partner in getting the citizens what they need, and he has a lot of liquidity within his budget. He, in most years, almost every year, has turned back far more than the 200,000. So he can true up his entire budget and can actually have no reduction in service or within implications of the operations of his department, as the money is there within the budget to do it. I get that it makes it a lot tighter than it may have historically been, but there is options within it, provided there is no unforeseen things, but unforeseen things do happen, and I understand that. And if he needs the funds, he can come forward at any time in 2025, and we can reallocate those funds as necessary to make sure that he can operate and do the staffing and services that he sees necessary. Because to me, law enforcement's important, and Sheriff Derringer, you do a fantastic job, and you're a great leader. So.
Mr. Chair, I would like to submit the letter we all received from the Deputies Union and my comments for the record into the minutes.
All right. So with that, taking to the next part here is the take action on the Truth and Taxation meeting. Staff is recommending setting the what is used to be known as a Truth and Taxation meeting, but I guess now it's public hearing for the levy, looking to hold that on December 5th at 6 p.m. in this room. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
A second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Dietrich, second by Commissioner Holland. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, could you
Yes.
repeat that date and time, please?
December 5th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
All right. And hearing no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next would be to schedule an ARP Committee of the Whole. This would be a meeting to discuss where the projects have been and to look at where we have for balances that left that need to be reallocated prior to the expiration of said funds. So at this time, is there a recommendation by staff?
Mr. Chair, staff doesn't really have a recommendation. Would next Tuesday work after board? I think it would after board. We could do it right then, just to try to get these funds moving and start discussing it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would say that we want to get going on this sooner than later as
Yeah.
the clock is ticking.
Yes, especially in light of the consent agenda item dealing with the broadband cancellation.
Is that, oh, I see in Elizabeth and Mark.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
all right.
After the quarterly leadership meeting.
You want to go at like 1 o'clock next Tuesday?
Let's go with 1 o'clock then.
All right. So it's serious. That's October 1st? October 1st at 1 p.m. I'll stand for that motion.
Oh, yeah.
Will it work? Or do you want to go? We could go.
No, we can, yeah.
All right.
I just, UNC has open.
All right. So we have a motion out there. Anybody want to make that motion for October 1st at 1 p.m.?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Shane, second by Commissioner Holland to schedule a committee of the whole for October 1st at 1 p.m. in the in a room to be determined to discuss the ARP funds. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. All right, next would be to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss the Law Enforcement Training Center memo of understanding with the FBI. Looking for a date, I think somewhere in mid-October was the expectation on that.
Mr. Chair, yes, please. Looking at the calendar, I think October 9th could work. We also have some public hearings and a cannabis work group after the board meeting on October 15th, but I think that day is going to be probably full of meetings. Could,
The 9th and 10th, I'll be at a shack retreat.
Should we just go October
what's the 8th?
16th?
that's
What's the
falling
8th?
into MEA time, Mr. Chair.
What's the
Okay.
8th?
The
The
8th?
board meeting?
That's workshop. We could add it, we could do it at,
You could do it in the afternoon after the
Afternoon.
workshop, but it is
Yeah,
a
let's
full
do that.
workshop agenda.
Yeah,
I don't
let's do
know
that.
how the board feels about that.
Yeah, let's power through and do it in the afternoon. Like 1?
1 o'clock on the 8th.
1 o'clock works on the 8th.
Okay. So I'll stand for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Catchmark to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss the memo of understanding with the FBI for October 8th at 1 o'clock. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimous. All right, we have just for informational purposes, to set the agenda for the October 8th workshop. Included in the packet are those items. Is there any discussion on those?
Mr. Chair, two things. If we could speak about the out-of-county agency use of the training center and see some type of proposal or some progress on that with staff that can be shared,
Did you say out of county?
right? And then the second piece is our subscription and payment to AMC. We all got some information that the dues went up, and there was a whole page of alleged benefits that we're getting as a result of being a member. And I'd like the staff to check into that and see actually is some or all those benefits things we would have gotten with or without the subscription to AMC. And maybe they could speak to a couple of the counties that aren't members, because every county is not a member, and maybe compare how things are going without AMC and such financial benefits that we received a whole page that allegedly we're getting because of that membership.
All right. So being that the agenda is so robust, I'm open to, and especially there isn't a lot to present on the out-of-county piece. Commissioner Catchmark, is there one thing, can one of the two get pushed out? I mean, I think there's more of a good discussion to have on the AMC membership. The out-of-county use on the training facility, it's kind of, they solicited, the interest isn't there, at least under the time and parameters that we currently have based on the previous discussions. I think there's a little bit more time. I think we could hold off and do that one in November. But I just looking at how many items we have on there, and then with us trying to have a meeting at 1 o'clock, I feel one of these ones might need to be.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the point that there's not as much interest, you had made that comment before, and since then, there has been interest. There has been other agencies that has done sounds good. The staff has got some information on what that could look like for a potential revenue source and fee schedule, which we agreed to having them look into this when we had the in-county folks first, and that one has been fleshed out. So the staff's ready to share it. I don't think it's going to be very lengthy because they already got a lot of the groundwork set because of the in-county, and then give us an update on that. If one or two of those said they're not interested, then that would be more time potentially for other agencies. The MC, yeah, that might be lengthy. I don't know what kind of deadlines we have to subscribe for next year or to call a timeout on that. Is that a consideration?
So to my knowledge, we don't have any like due diligence that we have to give them notice of non-renewal. So at any time given next year, usually we pay in the first quarter our membership dues to AMC. So at any time, if we decide we do not want to pay our membership dues, we can cancel our membership to AMC. So there's not a time sensitive, at least in the urgency side of it. So if you'd rather push that one to November. I just am trying to make sure that we can still get all the business that we need to get done and trying to get the ones that are more time sensitive accomplished first. If staff is ready to present information on out of county use on the training facility, we can happily do that. Because at this point they weren't presenting it as an item, I wasn't sure that they were ready or to do so. And then I'm not quite sure where those discussions are in coinciding with that of the sheriff and the sheriff's usage, as well as that of the FBI. That's the only piece that I want to make sure that all three people are collaborating on this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I spoke to Clay, so I guess he's got time to do whatever more he needs to do. Everybody's here that would be a part of that meeting. So there's been interest in other agencies to use it for this year yet if everything worked out. So for those that think there's no interest, there really is in a few calls that were made.
Mr. Chair, I'd be okay with keeping it on there. I have full faith in you that you'll keep the meeting going very productively and stay on task.
It's fair enough. We can do that. But is everyone comfortable with having the AMC discussion in November then? Yeah, that gives us ample time to decide if there for some reason that was the case. I want everybody to have time to do their due diligence on that.
And Mr. Chair, I didn't want staff or somebody to automatically send a check to AMC and then we make another decision to go another route because you got to pay by a certain time frame for the next year. So if we can have that pause, I don't know what that regular procedure is, but I think it's worth consideration before we mail them a check.
All right.
But it can wait.
All right, very good. Then we can add the out-of-county use. Looking forward to that discussion. I wasn't aware, but if there is out-of-county use and there is time and availability to it, we by all means should have that discussion because we want to leverage the facilities and our tax dollars to the best of our ability.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, staff can, of course, accommodate the discussion on the training facility. I'm thinking we would put it right before the 10:55 legislative items, squeeze it in there. Yeah, I think would be the appropriate time slot for it. And I do appreciate you pushing the AMC item over. I had not heard of any county not being a member, and my quick messaging to the assistant county administrators, they didn't know of anything either. So we'll be doing some research as to the membership list as well, and that gives us some time not to be rushing this discussion. So I appreciate that.
All right, so I'll stand for a motion for the items for the workshop for the October 8th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Holland.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. Next would be the authorize the commissioners' attendance of the Association of Minnesota Counties Conference, December 9th through the 11th, and cancel the December 10th workshop of the county board, which is a standard practice that we usually don't have a workshop in December.
I will not be going.
I won't be.
All right. I don't necessarily know that we have to even take action on this because it's an item that they can, the more the action piece is whether we still want to have a workshop on December 10th. We don't really have to authorize attendance because that is one that commissioners can decide upon themselves if they want to attend it.
Mr. Chair, we usually do an open meeting posting to say that 3 or more commissioners may be present at the conference. So that's what the action item really is for staff today, is to be able to post that. 3 commissioners may be there for open meeting purposes.
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to post because I don't know if you're going down for Minnesota rural counties or not.
No.
No?
Commissioner Diedrich's going.
Commissioner Dietrich's going, okay. So then we're probably not at any risk because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a quorum of board members there for posting purposes.
Okay. Sounds good, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
But we're still canceling the workshop though on the 10th?
That was my next piece of discussion.
I don't know. It depends if we have to push some of these things off.
Yeah. If we got 4 that are going to be here, I don't know that I want to give up that day with potentially unfinished business before the end of the year.
Agreed.
Because we don't know, that's too far out to say what's going to be on our plate.
We have time to discuss that. We can discuss it at one of the board meetings in October, whether there is interest or not interest in having a December workshop. So, all right. So we'll hold off on that one, so that item will be tabled to a later board agenda. All right.
Do you need a motion to table it or just table?
No, I can just table it. So, all right. Next would be the committee recommendations. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, on the Personnel Committee, I just remind the commission that at the top of the agenda, we amended this resolution or this recommendation under item 2, under finance. So this recommendation with the minutes would be changed as a result of that prior action.
Yeah. So the second recommendation under the restructuring with the add-on of a TPS or a senior TPS, everyone is aware of the language changes that is not a determination at this time. The other recommendations of the eliminate the ECM business process analyst, the create the ECM solutions analyst in central IT and eliminate one business technologist position through attrition and rename 2 business technologist positions as product administrators and approve the product administrator's job description and rename 1 business project coordinator position to a product owner's position and authorize administration to an additional TSS position in central IT effectively immediately.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to return this item back to personnel to go through so that IT and HHS are represented at the personnel meeting to review those changes being made and to accommodate any of their feedback.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Dietrich. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Motion dies for the lack of a second. So I will say that this process has been well vetted. I thank our internal projects department and their thorough review of the IT as well as the HHS and leveraging the people and the processes and the softwares that are in these departments to make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck from a personnel perspective, as well as efficiencies in the systems that we use. This entire reorg is to a cost savings to the taxpayers, as well as it leverages systems that we have in the county and eliminating some potentially in the future that we no longer need, as there just isn't enough demand for the amount of service that they require to operate. So with this, members on both sides, HHS and IT, to some degree have been involved, especially outside of it on the early end side when we went to centralization of IT and financial services. And this is just one of those final steps that needs to be made to get the efficiencies that we need with that centralization.
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt the recommendations from the Personnel Committee meeting on the 11th with the changes we made this morning.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Holland, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just want to add a comment with the property tax administrator position, that it came back to be reclassed to a grade 15. And I just want to add that I'm just disappointed when this position was reviewed last year and it was not approved, it was denied. And we lost a really good employee since then in that position. And the amount of effort to hire and rehire and train, had we had some insight back then, it would have been way more appropriate to reclass that position at that time. The job descriptions hasn't changed since then, but now we're approving it. So I just want to add that I'm disappointed. I'm hoping moving forward, we'll be thinking ahead when we make these decisions in personnel.
Thank you for those comments. We're working diligently on trying to find a solution that is palatable from an expense perspective, as well as meeting the demand and desires within property tax administration. There is there is a change that is necessary there, and we are trying to determine what that organization looks like. It's taking a little bit more time than we would like to have, but it is a costly change, and with that, it takes sometimes more time than some of us would like. I know I would like a swifter resolution on it, but once again, we still need to make sure that we get one that works for permanency here in the county. All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimously. Next would be to approve and adopt the recommendations from the Drainage Authority, which we've kind of already done earlier in the agenda, with the approval of the repair on County Ditch 38 under Minnesota Statute 103E.715, and to direct staff to prepare findings in order for the repair and deemed necessary.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Catchmark, second by Commissioner Shane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes unanimous. And at this time, it is 9:56, and we have completed today's agenda. I do want to take a quick moment to thank Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Shane, and Administrator Kreiser for their dedication and hard work in DC this previous week, and working on creating, fostering future relationships. So.
Do you have an update for us?
Yes, I want to, first of all, I do want to thank Commissioner Shane. It was really nice to go there because we were on the thank you tour, and very fun to see our, friend, Senator the Whip Emmer, and David Fitzsimmons. And I just want to say that I've learned that 13 years ago, MnDOT didn't even have the I-94 on their 20-year plan. And Nadine, as a councilwoman, found that out, went, and at that time, David Fitzsimmons was working in the House, and they found the corridors of commerce money. And I have to tell you that Senator Hornstein shouted out to her at the shovel ceremony at the opening. A lot of hard work. She knows a lot of people down there, and a lot of counties and MnDOT said if it wasn't for the I-94 corridor group coalition, we wouldn't have I-94 right now. So that was really fun to hear. And I want to thank you, Nadine, for all that hard work, because there's a lot of relationships built and a lot of hard work, and that was an exhausting trip. And I do want to shout out to Chad, too, because he was trying to work, and the amount of people that he knows from MnDOT, he was a huge asset to be down there making connections, and they all really, really liked Chad, and that was really encouraging to see, too. So it was a very nice to see, and thank you, Greg, too, for coming, because I know they have to come back to a load of work. Chad was making calls in DC, like he'd slip off, and he was working, and that's hard to do. So, but yeah, it was a very successful trip, and I'm really glad I went, and my cities were really glad I was there to represent. So.
Mr. Chair, if I could, first off, you're way too kind, giving me way too much credit. Commissioner Holland was just a powerhouse. She stepped in with both feet, and she kept us running. And I'm really also glad that you were there, Greg. You got to see, and I think you'll really bring that to a full circle, being able to see how things were ran down there by some of the other lead administrators. It was one of the strongest trips that I think we could have made. Right now, I feel like they're writing out checks for us just because we were there.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, members of the board, it was an excellent trip, and I thank the commissioners for their leadership that they exhibited in the meeting. Getting to have FaceTime with the majority whip in the United States Capitol was well worth the trip, and being able to talk about congressionally delegated spending because they don't like the word earmark anymore.
Right.
Talking about that with the majority whip and also getting time to meet with Senator Amy Klobuchar in her conference room in her office is pretty invaluable. And I think just those 2 meetings alone were worth it. And that doesn't include the other staff meetings we had with every other elected official in DC. So the networking opportunities, the ability to promote Wright County and to be able to get buy-in on a cross congressional district basis, I think is pretty phenomenal.
Mr. Chair, also, Greg enlightened us exactly to that point of being able to sit down with the actual senator and the actual whip. Most of the time, you get 1 to 4 of their staff members, and we actually had time with them. So we're definitely on their radar to projects that are coming up that need to be done.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think as Commissioner Shane knows from her prior experience with the City of St. Michael, having this coalition and having a broad spectrum, literally from Maple Grove to Clearwater, that gets the attention of elected officials when you show up to have that many jurisdictions in the same room. And as the people out there who are in the experts know that when you have that broad of a demographic, then you get senators paying attention because they know with one decision, they're helping out a large section of the state of Minnesota. And, as Senator Amy Klobuchar even mentioned, I mean, one of her big achievements was getting the St. Louis Bridge, that funding through up there, because that then frees up underspending from MnDOT across the state to be able to bring it back to our district. So having that kind of spending here, literally on the last 8-mile gap, I mean, it all ties in, So it was a great trip.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no other business to attend to, we will adjourn today's county board meeting at 10:01.
Emmer was